The first of the Anti-Federalist papers was published in the Boston Gazette and Country Journal. In a somewhat ironic twist, the author of this essay, John DeWitt, used the pseudonym of Federalist. I am pleased to see a spirit of inquiry burst the band of constraints upon the subject of the new plan for considering the governments of the United States, as recommended by the late convention. If it is suitable to the genius and habits of the citizens of these states, it will bear the strictest scrutiny. Mr. DeWitt made the point that if the proposed Constitution was worthy of support, it should be able to bear up under strict scrutiny. The people are the grand inquest who have a right to judge of its merits. Both Messrs. Hamilton and DeWitt agree that the people have the right to be the ultimate judge of whether the proposed Constitution should be ratified. The hideous demon of aristocracy has hitherto had so much influence as to bar the channels of investigation, preclude the people from inquiry, and to extinguish every spark of liberal information of its qualities. As I've already pointed out, the Anti-Federalists were concerned that the United States could become a land of aristocracy at the expense of the liberty of the American people. Their concerns about those in power using censorship to deprive everyday Americans of the information they needed to make good decisions is nothing new in this land. Those furious zealots who are for cramming it down the throats of the people without allowing them either time or opportunity to scan or weigh it in the balance of their understandings bear the same marks in their features as those who have been long wishing to erect an aristocracy in this Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Their menacing cry is for a rigid government. It matters little to them of what kind, provided it answers that description. As the plan now offered comes something near their wishes and is the most consonant to their views of any that we can hope for, they come boldly forward and demand its adoption. They brand with infamy every man who is not as determined and zealous in its favor as themselves. They cry aloud, the whole must be swallowed, or none at all, thinking thereby to preclude any amendment. They are afraid of having it abated of its present rigid aspect. In addition to their concerns about a rigid government about to deprive the people of their rights and liberties, the Anti-Federalists saw the Federalists as attempting to rush the adoption of the Constitution before the people had a chance to properly read and digest it. And that's rather like politicians today who tell us we have to pass the bill so you can find out what's in it. They have strived to overawe or seduce printers to stifle and obstruct a free discussion, and have endeavored to hasten it to a decision before the people can duly reflect upon its properties. In order to deceive them, they incessantly declare that none can discover any defect in the system but bankrupts who wish to know government, and offers of the present government who fear to lose a part of their power. These zealous partisans may injure their own cause and endanger the public tranquility by impeding a proper inquiry. The people may suspect the whole to be a dangerous plan from such covered and designing schemes to enforce it upon them. It seems partisan name-calling and most likely hyperbole are nothing new in the American politics. Were the Federalists attempting to censor misinformation, much like the federal government does today? Or were the Anti-Federalists using these claims to derail their political opponents? One thing is for sure. While the Federalists wanted a stronger federal government, the Anti-Federalists wanted stronger states. I had rather be a free citizen of the small republic of Massachusetts than an oppressed subject of the great American empire. While the claim that the Anti-Federalists were against ratification of the proposed Constitution is quite common, that's not entirely true. If we can confederate upon terms that will secure to us our liberties, it is an object highly desirable because of its additional security to the whole. If the proposed plan proves such a one, I hope it will be adopted. But if it will endanger our liberties as it stands, let it be amended, in order to which it must and ought to be open to inspection and free inquiry. Would the proposed Constitution secure the people's liberties or endanger them? That's the central contention between the two groups. However, it appears Mr. DeWitt's greatest concern is the speed with which the proposed Constitution was being ratified. It will first be allowed that many undesigning citizens may wish its adoption from the best motives, but these are modest and silent when compared to the greater number who endeavor to suppress all attempts at investigation. Mr. DeWitt does not imply that everyone who supports the proposed Constitution did so with evil intent. but that the vast majority seem to want to suppress any attempt to investigate the details of the document. It may surprise you that Mr. DeWitt lays the blame for this apparent rush to judgment on many of the same people Americans vilify today. These violent partisans are for having the people gulp down the gilded pill blindfolded, whole, and without any qualification whatever. These consist generally of the noble order of Cincinnatus, holders of the public securities, men of great wealth and expectations of public office. Bankers and lawyers, these with their train of dependents, form the aristocratic combination. The lawyers in particular keep up an incessant declamation for its adoption. Like greedy grudgeons, they long to satiate their voracious stomachs with a golden bait. The numerous tribunals to be erected by the new plan of consolidated empire will find employment for 10 times their present number. These are the loaves and fishes for which they hunger. It seems well over 200 years later, little has changed when it comes to class warfare. The haves versus the have-nots is as old as time, as is the vilification of lawyers and their relationship with those who make the laws they claim to serve. The time draws near for the choice of delegates. I hope my fellow citizens will look well to the characters of their preference and remember the old patriots of '75. They have never led them astray, nor need they fear to try them on this momentous occasion. As Massachusetts was preparing to choose delegates for the ratification convention, Mr. DeWitt urged his fellow citizens to seriously consider the character of those whom they would choose, something we in the 21st century should consider each and every time we vote.